futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
All the biggest names in sports from Tuned In. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOS Studios here in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington, and thanks so much for joining us each and every weekday as we chat the biggest stories in the business and culture of sports. Now, we have our interviews with ESPN's Jimmy Pitaro, Stephen A. Smith, and NBC's Maria Taylor, all ahead on this special edition of the show.
Yeah, so let's begin with the commissioners, including Major League Baseball's Rob Manfred and Athletes Unlimited Softball League's Kim Ng. But let's start with one of the biggest guests at Tuned In. That would be NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who talked to us about the league's new TV package and so much more. Take a look.
All right, we are joined by the Commissioner of the National Basketball Association, Mr. Silver. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk about this new broadcast deal that you got coming up just a month from now. NBC, Amazon joining the fray. Is this an exciting new endeavor that's happening for the NBA?
I mean, you got to interview Maria Taylor, and
Yes.
how exciting is that she's going to be hosting our new broadcast on NBC and Peacock. We're thrilled. Obviously, we have Disney and ESPN returning. It's been incredible partnership over 2 decades, and we Amazon in addition to NBC Peacock. I think it brings a lot of new energy to telecast. For the first time, all of our games are going to be streamed nationally, globally for that matter too. That's a really big deal, and I think with the next phase is going to be adding all kinds of different optionality to these telecasts. So, with streaming comes an ability to add different feeds, other audio, gaming, shopping, social media chatter. I mean, I think it's the next level engagement for our fans, so we're thrilled.
Coming off a very exciting NBA championship, going into this season, it feels like there's so many great things the NBA is doing. Can you give us a little bit about what you're most excited about as commissioner that people can look forward to this season?
I'd say, well, what I just talked about, I think, again, at the end of the day, we're a media company. That's really what scales. Finding new and different ways to reach fans is really exciting. I think another initiative I've been spending a lot of time on is a potential league in Europe. The Deputy Commissioner and Chief Operating Officer, Mark Tatum, is sort of taking the lead on that, but I've been spending a lot of time in Europe, talking to potential stakeholders, new partners around that league, seeing opportunities of the level of interest in the marketplace. There's some incredible basketball being played in Europe. Our last 7 MVPs have all been international players. So we'll see. I mean, it's still a lot of work to go there, but I think everyone at the league is really excited about that. By the way, women's basketball is growing leaps and bounds in Europe as well. It's sort of parallel to talking about an NBA Europe. There's a notion of a WNBA Europe too. So there's this massive amount of basketball being played on a global basis. And I'll just finish by saying in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to both Abu Dhabi and Macau for preseason games. So other of my colleagues are We're playing in Melbourne, Australia, preseason. Later on this year, we're going to be in Mexico City, then to London, then to Berlin. So it's a big world out there, and a lot of basketball is being played.
And a lot of amazing players that are out there as
Adam.
well. Commissioner Adam Silver, thank you so very much for joining us here with Front Office Sports.
My pleasure.
All right, we're joined by Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred. Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us here at Tuned In. And we got to talk first about this incredible race to the finish in the playoff race. You have 7 teams competing for that final wild card spot, some of them just 4 games out. What does that feel like to have this great sort of finish and so many teams in the mix here?
Well, I think it is an endorsement of the playoff format. We really helped us drive attendance during September, a lot of excitement for our fans, and more markets engaged, which is what it's about at the end of the day.
You talk about excitement and fans engagement. MLB All-Star, Home Run Derby, still some of the best in terms of attendance and viewership across any sport. How do you guys continue to make it even better year after year?
Well, I think we try to look at it at the end of each All-Star week and think about what might make it better. I think the swing off this year was a huge success for us. We've been waiting, I think, 6 or 7 years to get one. Actually, I had forgotten about the change until it came time to do it, but it was a huge hit with the fans and a great way to end an All-Star game.
And we know with Major League Baseball, compared to other leagues, the regional sports networks obviously are a backbone for teams to connect with their local fans. Where do you sort of see RSNs in the future of the negotiations for the rights, and where do you sort of see them playing a role here?
Well, I think that there is going to continue to be a place for the RSNs. There's a lot of local inventory in our sport. We continue to generate good economics for them. I think we need to work with the RSNs to make sure that the program is compelling and economically viable as possible.
All right, as we are nearing the postseason, I have to ask, looking back, what has been kind of the highlight or moment that really you've enjoyed the most about this season? Every season I feel like brings something different. What's it this season that's had you most thrilled?
You know, it got out of the way early for me. Tokyo was unbelievable for the opener. I will tell you, I feel like we got robbed of a home run in Bristol. The pregame in Bristol, the ticket sales, the number of people, the Tim McGraw concert was unbelievable. The players going around the track, and then unfortunately, the weather put a little damper on
Sure.
So,
But is the expectation we'll see more cool events and stuff like that down the road?
Yeah, I think we will continue to try to take regular season games, eventize them. I think there's spots in the calendar where that can be really important for us in terms of driving interest.
I love that. That's exciting. That's what makes baseball so fun. It's a long season, but you get these special events. Yes.
Congratulations on a wonderful season, Commissioner. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
And Front Office Sports is at the Tuned In event here at the Time Center here in New York City with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado. We are joined by the Athletes Unlimited Softball League Commissioner Kim Ng. Kim, congratulations on this new league and this new title for you. What's been sort of the unique challenges and things that you've been able to do so far in this role?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. So with Athletes Unlimited, obviously brand awareness has been something that we've had to work on very closely with a lot of people, work on a lot with Major League Baseball, who is one of our prime investors. And so really just getting the word out and people understanding who we are, what we stand for, and the great product that we bring to the field.
And your pioneering in baseball and softball started as a GM, the first female GM in Major League Baseball. I'm curious, do you think there's another woman that's ready to step into that GM role? How soon do you think that's going to happen?
I would hope that it's within the next five years. We have a couple of candidates, one with the Baltimore Orioles, one with the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are assistant general managers right now. So I'm really hoping that happens. I was just talking to someone about, the thing that we have to point to is that, there was a woman who was a general manager, but not only did she reach that highest level, but also brought them to the playoffs. So I think those are the items that we have to point to, and it's not a foregone conclusion anymore that she can't do it.
You, of course, throughout your entire history with Major League Baseball have worked with big teams like the Dodgers. You've worked with small teams like the Marlins. I'm curious to see a team like the Milwaukee Brewers and their success. What do you think about this sort of Moneyball 2.0 that they've been able to create? I'm just curious as a former GM.
I think all the teams are always looking for those edges on the margins. I think, when you combine a lot of sort of the outer margins, I think that, you get a good product like the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think that takes time. I will say that the Milwaukee Brewers have been pretty good as an organization for a while. I think, this newfound success, and I think the great leader that they have, they've been able to put together talent as well as chemistry and skill. So it's fun to watch them and see them doing as well as they are.
Well, in terms of newfound success with baseball and where softball is currently, what's next? What else can we expect? It's been an exciting launch for the AUSL. What else is on the horizon in terms of media deals and more opportunities in the future?
Right. So first of all, this coming season, we're going to expand 2 teams, and we're going to put those teams into markets, cities and markets. So that's number one. That's the biggest thing on our plate. In terms of sponsors and partners, obviously MLB and ESPN have been great partners. MLB, helping us with our launch and raising our visibility and elevating us in the way that they have across their platforms. ESPN, it goes without saying. And then we've had partners like Sephora jump on, midway through the season. And, Sephora being a primetime partner, and with their visibility and with their brand, and I think everything that they stand for has been really helpful to us. And so helpful in all the conversations that we've had, and hopefully we are able to, expand our partnerships.
Well, we're definitely excited to see this continue to grow. Best of luck, Kim. We know it's going to be amazing. Kim Eng, AUSL Commissioner, joining us here at the Tuned In event here in New York City. We have more interviews with some of the top names in sports and media right here on Front Office Sports. Coming up, ESPN's chairman Jimmy Pitaro on Inside the NBA joining the network, and if there'll still be a post-game show with the iconic crew. That's next.
Aaron Rodgers, 2-year stint with the Jets that he'll never want to remember when he goes into the Hall of Fame. He'll just say, please don't mention that. Now he's with Pittsburgh, and he had his best game since Green Bay. Is it 5, right? Am I right about that, Sam? I don't want to screw this up, too. 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, I've screwed up again. 4 touchdown passes against the New York Jets. Buy or sell, Aaron Rodgers will finish the season as a QB1 in a 12-team league, top 12 fantasy quarterback. Buy or sell.
The cop out here is he stays healthy at yes, right? He'll do it. It's not asking a lot. Top 12. Purdy's already not going to be top 12, right? He's already going to miss this week, probably another week, maybe as much as 5. They've said. So you knock him out there. There'll be other quarterbacks that get hurt, so you knock them out. I don't think he'd ever get top 5, top 6, top 8. But the 9 to 12, I hate to say it, he wasn't bad last year with the Jets, right? They didn't win games, but he wasn't bad. He had it when he played. He was a good, solid quarterback. He can still sling it. He still can. I'm the first to admit those 4 touchdowns. It wasn't like he had a monster game. A couple of his interceptions were dropped. That should have been picked off there. It seems like he did complete more for touchdowns. A couple of breakdowns by the Jets as well. So I don't see him really as going to win a league for you. But I'm going to buy this if he stays healthy. Hell, just give me 15 games, and I think he can be top 12. So I'll buy this.
I'm going to sell it. Yeah. I mean, games against the Browns and games against the Ravens. And look, I don't know if the Jets defense is as bad as they've showed. If it is, then this may be his best game of the season. So, yeah, I'm going to sell. I think he's on the outside of this looking in.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today, and it's been a very busy last few months for ESPN chair Jimmy Pitaro, from launching a new streaming service to the NFL taking an equity stake within the network as well.
Yeah, we talked to Pitaro at Tuned In to ask him those questions and get more insights. Let's take a look.
And Front Office Sports is back here at Tuned In here at the Time Center here in New York City alongside Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado. We're talking to all of the biggest names in sports media. And of course, one of the biggest ones out there is the chairman of ESPN, Jimmy Pitaro. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, you just launched your new direct-to-consumer streaming platform. And part of that also includes your deal with the NFL where they are taking an equity stake in your company. Tell us a little bit about the future of streaming and how the NFL sort of plays a role in all of that.
You got it. First off, thanks for having me. It's great to be here today. Two things happened a few weeks ago. First off, we launched our direct-to-consumer service. For the first time, our 12 networks and over 47,000 live events will be available direct-to-consumer. Part two, we significantly enhanced the ESPN app with new features and functionality, and we're thrilled with how fans are receiving and engaging with the product. And then, yes, a little bit before, a few days, maybe a week or so before we launched direct-to-consumer, we announced several deals with the NFL, first of which was them taking an equity stake, as you mentioned, in ESPN. That deal still needs to close, but once it does, we will then acquire the NFL Network, and our plan is to include NFL Network and ESPN direct-to-consumer, the base tier. We will also be acquiring the Red Zone brand and linear rights to Red Zone, and we will also be acquiring their fantasy business, so we will become the official fantasy game of the NFL. There were a couple of other components, a couple of other deals, including us extending, renewing our rights to the NFL Draft. A big part of our DNA at ESPN is actually the NFL Draft. We helped create it with them decades ago, and so we're super excited to be able to extend that partnership.
And I know a lot of people have been curious about how this partnership is going to look with the NFL. As you mentioned, still needing to close, so I'm curious when it will close, but also how this makes sense, and not only with the NFL, but maybe future leagues that you guys could partner with as well.
Don't know about timing. That's a question for the lawyers. I'm a retired lawyer, so I'll leave that to the smarter people. Don't know about timing in terms of closing. In terms of potential other opportunities, I would say, look, this was a very unique and highly complex deal. We had been speaking about this, working on it for several years with the league. That said, if there's an opportunity to partner or expand a partnership with another league, and we think it makes business sense for ESPN, and we think it makes sense for the sports fan, we're of course going to listen and pursue it.
Obviously, the NBA season's about a month away. A lot of us are very excited for what Inside the NBA will look like on ESPN, given the fact that you guys are going to be licensing that show. Can you give us any sort of insight? Will it change? Is it going to look any different from how we saw it on TNT? Charles Barkley just recently said he doesn't even know what it's going to look like.
Well, first off, let me say that I'm a huge fan, as I think everyone at this conference is, of the show. And so we're thrilled to be able to keep the show going on ESPN and ABC. Second, probably even more important, is the fact that we are not going to change the show at all. Turner will actually continue to produce it out of their Atlanta studios, and we're incredibly excited about that. In terms of the schedule and the programming, Burke Magnus, our president of content, will be speaking about that in a lot of detail as we get closer to the start of the season. But I think it's helpful to look at it as the Inside the NBA show really appearing around our key tentpole events during the regular season, and then of course during the postseason. So think playoffs, conference finals, NBA finals. We just got our deal done with the NBA, and as a part of that, we were able to, it's an 11-year deal, we will have a conference final for 10 of the 11 years, and we will have the exclusive rights to the NBA finals for all 11 years. So for the first time ever, Inside the NBA will be on during the NBA finals. So we're excited about that, and I don't want to speak for those guys, but I think they're excited about that as well.
And what about post-game? I heard you mention special tentpole events, but will we get an Inside the NBA post-game, especially given SportsCenter is typically running post-game?
That's a great question. The answer to that question is yes. You will have post-game as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And last question we got for you. The evolution also of ESPN, still SportsCenter, still a big thing, but it's now also personalities, the Pat McAfees and so many others, Scott Van Pelt also. Is that sort of more of where we're going to see from ESPN is more personality-based content? We even bring Rich Eisen back into the equation as well.
So just to back up, since you mentioned SportsCenter, I do want to call out the fact that we did launch a personalized SportsCenter called SportsCenter for You that we're really excited about. That's driven by AI, but we have deals with several of our talent for around the storytelling for each episode. But more to your question, look, we take a ton of pride in our studio programming. By the way, in a world of cord cutting, our studio programming for the month of August was across the board up in terms of ratings. And when I say up, like double digits up. And why is that? Like everyone always talks about how highlights are one click away. I just Google them and I get them. It's like, okay, but do you get them with personality? Do you get them with charm, with wit, with humor? That's really what ESPN does. That's how we differentiate. And so that's driven in part by our fantastic producers, but also by our amazing world-class talent. You mentioned Scott Van Pelt. He has the Midnight. He's killing it there. We have now Pat McAfee every day from 12 to 2, and he's doing a fantastic job. First Take is a juggernaut. Get Up in the morning, right after our 7 a.m. SportsCenter, we roll right into Get Up. And again, it's amazing to see in a world where we're in a battle for people's time, ratings for our studio programming are all up. And so we take a lot of pride in that. And again, that's in large part because of the amazing people we have behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Yeah, Jimmy Pitaro, good to have you here. Congratulations on all the success. And of course, we're talking to all the biggest names in media and sports here at Tuned In event with Front Office Sports. Stay with us. We got a lot more coming your way.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had marquee wins at some point
I don't care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. Like, that's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back everyone to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington, Baker Machado, and as we've shown you some of our conversations from Tuned In here in New York City, Renee and I moderated panels with Stephen A. Smith and Maria Taylor, which of course you can watch on our YouTube channel.
Yes, and before we took the stage with them, we also chatted with Maria about her new roles at NBC and Stephen A. if we'll see him on Inside the NBA. So let's take a look.
All right, we are here with Maria Taylor, NBC Sports studio host for so many things that you guys have going on at NBC. Maria, thanks so much for joining us here at Tuned In, and I'm curious, now that the NBA is now with NBC, you add that to the stuff that you're doing with the NFL, are you approaching all of this differently now that you've got all these other things you got to cover?
It's funny because I'm always paying attention to the NBA, so now I just get to put all of that knowledge to work this season. It's never left me, like, from the time that I was able to do the finals before, so I'm honestly just glad to be teaming up again, covering the sport that I love. I played basketball in college. Like, I feel like it runs in my veins, so now I just get to, like, spew it all the time. That's the most exciting part.
And not only NBA, but also WNBA coverage, as we're still waiting on the details, but more importantly, as a former basketball player, how excited are you to be back in women's basketball in terms of coverage?
You know, I used to think my dream job was literally just working the women's basketball national championship and the volleyball championship. And so to be able to return to the WNBA, and we've already started having conversations and like who we're thinking about working with and how we want to make this show different and unique and like cover it in the best way possible, it's special to me. That's where I got my start. I'm not here without being a woman in sports, and now I get to cover women's sports.
So in February, I believe it is a very busy month for you. I believe NBC Sports has the Super Bowl, you have the Olympics, you have the NBA, and the NBA All-Star Game. One, when do you plan on sleeping? But two, how do you sort of, approach all of that? Because that is a lot to deal with and a lot of different sports in different countries.
You're right, and I have a 2-year-old, and he's coming to Milan.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But we have a great research team. Like, I will tell you, I'm already receiving, like, the emails on NBA, the Olympics in Milan. Like, we have a travel itinerary. Like, we're ready to hop on a plane after Super Bowl and get over to Italy, and I'll be ready to cover everything that's coming out of Milan as well. And I feel like it's returning to when I first started out in sports. There were no days off. The unique thing about this is it's going to be a very short period. It's about a month of it's going crazy.
February is the shortest month,
You know what
thank
I mean?
God.
It's like the
Yeah.
shortest month. And then when you make it through that, you return to like your regularly scheduled program. But I never imagined in any world where I'd have an opportunity to do the Olympics, the NBA, and the Super Bowl. That had never crossed my mind when I started this journey, and it's just such a blessing to even be able to cover all those.
And welcome you back into our Front Office Sports Tuned In event. Renee Washington alongside ESPN Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A., I want to start with the news today of your partner, Molly Karam, no longer ESPN. What was your initial reaction with that?
I was surprised, obviously a bit shocked because she abruptly resigned. That's unfortunate, but I know that I'm thankful for the 10 years that we had together. We've had a great relationship over the years. I think she's absolutely wonderful as a person, as a human being. She's obviously a significant part of the show, and I'm going to miss her. She knows that. She and I spoke earlier today. She knows that. She knows how I feel about her, and we're going to always be friends, and we were partners for 10 years, and so you can never erase those memories, and I understand, but a lot of times things go on during negotiations that have nothing to do with anybody on the outside, and you just reach your breaking point, and whatever that was what it was for her. And so I understand it, I respect it, but it's certainly not a day for me to celebrate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you guys have been so fun to watch over the years. It's also been fun to watch your evolution, just getting involved in so many aspects of ESPN. Yeah. With Inside the NBA, I'm curious, will we see you? Will you be wanting to make some appearances on there as well? Because it feels like you are everywhere in terms of ESPN coverage.
That's totally up to them. Jimmy Pitaro has made it very, very clear that he would love for me to continue doing stuff with the NBA. But as I told him, and as I told Barkley and Kenny Smith and others, I only want what they want. They're the A-team, and they've been the A-team for decades for a reason. They're absolutely wonderful, even though they were on a different network. They're all personal friends of mine. Shaquille O'Neal and I, Kenny Smith and I, Charles Barkley and I go back 20, 25 years with each of them, if not more. And so I love them like brothers. I respect the hell out of them. I adore them. They're my brothers, and them coming to ESPN is a tremendous, tremendous thing for us, which I'm very excited about and very happy about. And so to me, I'm there. I got enough jobs. I got enough things that I'm doing, and I'm doing my own thing. But if they ever need me to come down to Atlanta to be in studio with them, to go to the playoffs or the finals with them, or whatever it is that they need, I will be there for whatever they want me to be there for. But it's their show. and it's their call. And I totally understand that, and that's what I insisted upon. I will never do it unless they ask me to.
I could see that. Same thing with football. Any expectation? I know there's been talk of your role expanding, Monday Night Football, anything like that you're wanting to dip your toes into even more?
Well, I'm going to be doing at least 3 Monday Night Football games this year. I'm going to be at the Lions when they go to Baltimore next Monday. I'm going to be at Arizona when they go to Dallas. I think that's week 10. I'm going to be at the Eagles when they go to the Los Angeles Chargers in week 15, if I remember correctly. And those are just the 3 that I know about.
And of course, we'll have more of our interviews from Tuned In tomorrow on the show. Plus, we're going to chat with Kay Adams. So we see you next time on Front Office Sports Today.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill